Michael stood on the sidewalk like he knew what was about to happen but couldn't stop it. His hand hovered near his body cam, not touching it, not yet, just watching. The girl in front of him, maybe 15, dark hoodie, quiet eyes, kept her voice level even as the crowd formed like smoke around them. No yelling, no threat, just that look she gave him. That look people give when they know how this ends because it's already happened before. You're not watching a video, you're inside it now. Caught in something you were never meant to. Replay. There's no intro, no breaking news banner, no viral hashtag. Just this frozen moment in time. This file wasn't tagged or timestamped. It was buried. And if you're still watching, it's because some part of you remembers something they made you forget. It starts with a question no one's dared to ask. Why did the cop freeze when her mother stepped out of the black SUV? It wasn't the gun she carried. Wasn't the badge. It was the name. But we'll get there. What matters now is what no one saw. What the dashcam missed. What was whispered between the girl and the officer. Too low for the mic to catch it. It did, one word. Spoken so carefully, it slipped under every siren and every breath of wind. It's happening again. And then she smiled. Not wide, not scared. A knowing smile, like someone waking up from the same dream 100 nights in a row. You'd think the officer would have cuffed her. Instead, Michael took one full step back, like the ground had shifted beneath him, and for the first time in any footage he's ever been in, he looked afraid. That's when the SUV door clicked open. Slowly, silently. No one turned to look at it. Not the girl, not the crowd. As if everyone already knew what or who was stepping out. She was in full black. No name tag, no visible ID. Her walk was precise, like the space around her obeyed her. And when she reached the officer, she didn't shout, didn't ask questions. She just stood between him and her daughter, like the air itself had rearranged. And then Michael dropped his radio. Just let it fall. His hands trembled like he'd seen something behind her. Not on her. Behind, the girl leaned in again, softer this time. The mic barely caught it. But if you really listen, you'll hear what made him freeze. Ask her about Quantico. The thing buried under Building 7. And then the screen glitches. Static, but only for one frame. Long enough to catch a reflection in the patrol car window. A man, standing across the street, watching. Except there's no one on the other side. Not anymore. This file wasn't leaked. It was uncovered. And the question you should be asking isn't who the mother is. It's what they were running from before she got there. Because 5 minutes after this footage cuts off, Officer Michael Reyes walked off the job. Left his cruiser running. Gun still HOLSTERED. And no one's heard from him since. Not even his wife. Now, ask yourself, what did she whisper to you? Michael Reyes doesn't remember walking off the job. The part where the cruiser was still running. Where his badge was left on the dashboard like some quiet resignation letter. That's what the news anchor kept repeating. He saw the segment later, on an old motel TV flickering with bad reception. His name stretched out beneath the grainy image of himself like he was a suspect in his own disappearance. They said he walked off the job at 4:17 p.m., but the body cam footage, the real footage, not what aired, stops at 4:09. Missing minutes, unaccounted for, no backup audio, no signal drop, just a black screen and a clicking sound. Rhythmic, mechanical. Like something pacing. He's played those 8 seconds back so many times. The audio file stutters when he opens it now. The program keeps asking if he wants to repair the file. Like, it knows something inside, it is fractured beyond fixing. But when he plays it at 0.25 speed, the distortion in the background doesn't sound like a glitch. It sounds like someone breathing. And not his own. Michael hasn't spoken to anyone in 3 days. Not since the motel clerk called him officer with that tilted head and careful tone. Like she was checking to see if he'd say something normal, something human. He didn't. He asked her if she could remember her first memory. Not childhood, not vague feelings, but the first. She didn't answer. She just stared, like the question had rewired something behind her eyes. He hasn't eaten. The hunger is gone, replaced by a pulsing in the base of his skull that gets worse when he's near a screen, or a speaker, or static. His old police radio, he tried smashing it, but even in pieces it kept picking up something. A low hum, like someone speaking under their breath, just below the range of comprehension. If he listens long enough, it starts to sound like his own voice. Michael's starting to think he didn't walk off the job. He thinks something walked into him. The knock on the motel door comes just before midnight. No cars in the lot. No footsteps before or after. Just a knock, 3 times. Spaced perfectly. When he opens it, the hallway is empty, except for a man in a blue windbreaker standing beneath the buzzing exit sign. Head tilted, smiling in that way people do when they've read your file before they meet you. Michael, the man says, like they've known each other for years. They said you might try to run. Michael doesn't move. You don't remember me, the man continues, not surprised. That's okay. We're supposed to forget. It's the only way they can keep it from spreading. He introduces himself as Will. No last name. No credentials. Just Will. He doesn't blink enough. Keeps adjusting his sleeves like he's trying to hide something on his arms. When Michael asks him what agency he's with, Will chuckles like the word agency doesn't mean what Michael thinks it means anymore. Will says the file Michael accessed the real one, not the version the department handed over for media. Tagged incorrectly, buried under juvenile processing, labeled as a cold case from 1996, even though it happened 2 days ago. He pulls out a photo, creases down the middle, edges worn like it's been folded and unfolded too many times. Hands it to Michael. It's a picture of the girl. Same hoodie, same eyes. Standing in front of a burned-down school building. The timestamp reads, October 17, 1996. I need you to be honest with me now. Will says, voice flat. Do you remember what happened at Quantico? Do you remember the door? Michael doesn't, but when he hears the word door, the back of his throat tightens. There's no door at Quantico. Not officially, but Will keeps talking. About a sublevel that was decommissioned after a fire. About Project Heretic, something buried under Building 7. About children, test frequencies, emotional imprinting, something called the hollowing process. You were one of the first responders, Will says quietly. You don't remember because you weren't supposed to. Michael laughs, a sharp, broken sound. I was 11 in 1996. Will doesn't blink. I know. He hands Michael a recorder, old school mini cassette, the kind used for interviews. Back in the day, play it when you start forgetting again. He says, not before, not after. Only when the voices start using your memories against you. Then Will leaves. No car, no sound, just gone. Michael doesn't sleep that night. The motel's bathroom light keeps flickering even though the switch is off. At 3:14 a.m., the radio still broken crackles to life and plays a lullaby. One Michael's mother used to hum, but she died before he joined the force. Before he ever picked up a badge, he plays the tape at 4:09 a.m., the exact time the dashcam footage ends. It's a woman's voice, soft, unfamiliar, but intimate. You've seen the girl before. You don't remember because we hollowed that part out, but your body remembers. That's why the officer froze. That's why you're still alive. Michael rewinds, plays it again, and this time, in the background, beneath the voice he hears it, a baby, crying, then laughing, then speaking one word, impossibly clear. Michael. He drops the recorder. The sound doesn't stop, the recorder's not playing anymore. But the voice continues. This is when Michael starts to question everything. Memory of that Datha girl, the SUV, the mother starts changing. He remembers the mother wearing a black suit. Now she's wearing white. He remembers her voice, low and calm. Now, in the memory, she's screaming something into his face. And there's blood on her collar. Michael opens his phone, looks at his call log, finds a number he doesn't recognize. No name, just 12 missed calls in the past hour. He listens to one voicemail. It's him, his own voice, whispering, if you're hearing this, don't trust Will. He's one of them. Now, they speak through him. He doesn't know it yet. Michael drops the phone. He locks the door, pushes the desk against it. Breath shallow, because suddenly he remembers something. Will ne'er blinked, not once, and there was something on his left sleeve, a burn mark, in the shape of a door. Now Michael's not sure what's real. He looks back at the photograph. The girl in front of the burned school. She's not wearing a hoodie anymore. She's in a hospital gown, eyes scratched out in pen. Flips the photo over. There's something written on the back in faded ink. She's not a child. She's the first witness. And just beneath that, you were supposed to die in 1996. Michael stares at the door. Something just knocked. Not 3 times. This time it's 4. Slow. Then the voice, through the wall speaker, not belonging to any device he can see. She's here. And she remembers you now. He doesn't dare answer, because deep down, something tells him he already did, and whatever was pretending to be his voice on the recorder wasn't lying. But it wasn't him either. The girl never left. She just changed faces, and one of them is his. Next knock. 4 again. But this time, from inside the room. Continued in. The door never opened. That was the part that wouldn't line up, no matter how many times Michael replayed the memory. 4 knocks, slow and deliberate from inside, and then nothing. No handle turning, no shadow cast, just a feeling, that unmistakable sense, that something had been in the room before he ever heard it knock. By morning, the tape recorder had melted into itself, warped and blistered like it had been left on a top. The photo was gone. Only a wet outline remained where it had sat. He should have panicked, screamed, run barefoot into the parking lot, but instead, Michael felt something else. Relief. He told himself the whole thing was a psychotic break, hallucinations, repressed trauma bleeding into the present. A neurological misfire. He told himself the truth. The only version that made the world feel safe again. And when we'll return, same windbreaker, same voice, same too-calm expression. Michael didn't question it this time. He went with him. They drove in silence for hours. No radio, no GPS, just a printout map with faded highlighter tracking. A path that didn't match any highway. Will said they were going to the source, that this wasn't about the girl anymore, or the SUV, or even Quantico. It's about where the memory begins, Will said, not what happened. When they pulled up to a place Michael didn't recognize but somehow already knew. An abandoned psychiatric center in upstate New York. Roof collapsed inward. Windows blackened from rot and time. No signs, no record of it ever existing online. But when he stepped inside, the smell-the sterile decay of bleach and old paper punched something loose behind his eyes. Michael staggered. He remembered this place. Only not as a cop, as a child. He tried to laugh. Shake it off. Accuse Will of planting the idea, but the memory came flooding in like cold water over the back of his neck. The red tricycle in the hallway. The burnt chart on the wall with his name wrist. The locked room with the mirror, not a two-way, just a mirror, but it had spoken to him once. Said his name in a woman's voice. Michael, it had said. You're not crazy, they lied to you. He didn't know if he screamed or passed out. But when he came to, Will was crouched beside him, tapping something into a small, matte black device the size of a lighter. We're close now, Will said. Sometimes the memory glitches get worse just before the node is exposed. Node, that was a new word, heavy mechanical, like the memories were something wired into him. Will led him down a staircase that spiraled into a subbasement sealed by rust and time. There, in the far corner, past discarded wheelchairs and water-stained records, was a door, just a door. No special markings, no warnings, just plain, gray steel, and a keypad. Will pressed his palm flat against it, and without any sound, it clicked open. Inside, a single chair, a projector, and a reel-to-reel film machine already running. The film played without flicker, clean, color-corrected to clear. It was Michael, 7 years old, sitting at a table across from a woman with a blurred-out face, answering questions in short, blank tones. Every answer was correct before she asked it. Colors, names, faces, he knew things he wasn't supposed to know. Then, a voice off camera, memory insertion, successful, subject adapting, preparing phase 2. Will paused the film. Looked at him. You were part of the initial wave. Deep childhood placement, testing emotional durability against cognitive fragmentation. You were supposed to forget, but you didn't, not fully. That's why the girl recognized you. She was one of us. Michael stared at the still image of his 7-year-old self. A lie curled warm and convincing at the back of his throat. Is a fake, it's not real. This isn't you. Then Will pressed play again. And the boy on the screen whispered, they're watching from inside your eyes. Michael staggered back. Will caught him. His voice turned soft, too soft. This is it. This is the truth behind everything. What you saw with the girl, the cop, the SUV was a trigger, a memory fail-safe. We buried it so deep that when it surfaced, it dragged everything else with it. That door you saw, under Building 7, it was never a real door. It was a placeholder. For this, he gestured around them. This is the end of it. We're going to shut it down. Together, and you'll be free. Michael wanted to believe him. He did believe him. Until one detail broke the world again. In the film reel. Just before the screen faded to black, the child version of Michael stood up, walked over to the camera, and stared directly into it. Into him. Into now. This is not the first time you've watched this, the child whispered. You always come here. You always forget. You're the one who built the node. Michael? The room exploded into silence. Will didn't move, didn't speak, just stood perfectly still. Then he smiled. Guess we're back at the beginning again. Michael lunged backward, but there was no door anymore. Just wall. Solid. Smooth. He blinked. Once the chair was gone. The projector. The real Will. He was back in the motel room. Same exact position on the bed. Same sweat-soaked shirt. The recorder on the nightstand was untouched. The photo was there again. No burn marks. No voice on tape. None of it had happened. Except there was now a scar on his left palm. Fresh. Circular. Like a burn. Michael pulled the sheets back and saw what was scratched into the wall above the headboard. Don't believe Will. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. 1. New voicemail. He pressed play. His own voice. If you're hearing this, don't trust Will. He's one of them now. They speak through him. He doesn't know it yet. The same message. The exact same except now it ends with something new. And the girl, she's not a witness. She's a reboot. Michael's mouth went dry. He opened the motel door. Outside, the SUV was parked again. Black, engine idling. No driver visible. But in the passenger seat, the girl, staring straight at him, wearing a hospital gown, holding a red tricycle bell in her hand. She rang it once, and somewhere in the distance, the same bell answered back. End of chapter 3. Michael didn't return to the motel after the second sighting. Something about the way the girl stared at him from the SUV expressionless, still, holding that red tricycle bell like it wasn't a toy but a trigger scratched against something. Deep inside his brain, something buried too long to speak aloud but still sharp enough to bleed. He walked. That's all. No destination, just walking through towns he didn't recognize, across roads that never connected right, past street signs, with names that felt like mistranslations of a language he once knew but no longer speaks. His mind no longer trusted stillness. Every time he stopped moving, the edges of the world began to ripple, like reality was nothing but a projection about to flicker off. By the second day, Michael noticed them. They didn't speak, they didn't follow, but they were always there. A man standing at a gas station window in Texas, watching him without blinking. A woman in a blue sweater sitting alone on a swing set in Arizona, nodding once as he passed. A child with a cassette player in Ohio, holding a sign that simply read, "You were right." All along, he saw the same people in different places, or maybe it was different people wearing the same faces. They weren't hallucinations. Michael knew that. He'd stopped trying to rationalize. Instead, he started watching them, just as they had watched him. Patterns emerged. Every time one of them appeared, there was always something nearby. Graffiti on the wall, in faint ultraviolet ink. The letters SWM sprayed beneath overpasses or carved into lamp. A strange 3DOT triangle marked in condensation on windows. A song playing faintly from an unseen radio, an old gospel track reversed, layered with voices whispering underneath it. One day, outside an abandoned rest stop in Nevada, Michael found the symbol again, this time burned into the hood of a rusted-out pickup. Underneath it, "This is not your first life." He started recording everything. Not with videos, something always corrupted the footage, but by hand. Writing frantically in a battered notebook stolen from a gas station shelf. Names, symbols, phrases, places he hadn't visited but somehow remembered. He wasn't just cataloging his descent, he was mapping a language system. Something older than anything he'd learned in the academy. That's when the dreams began. Shared dreams. He'd wake up at the edge of consciousness, sweating, throat dry, and realize the dream hadn't ended, it had spilled. Still flashing images behind his eyes. Every dream began the same. He was lying on a cold metal table beneath a dome of glass, surrounded by 6 identical faces. Each wore his own. They would speak in unison. "We built you to forget, and you failed." In the dream, he would scream. But, in the waking world, others were screaming with him. Across chat, through burner phones, on pirate radio stations, people who didn't know each other, different cities, different pasts, all saying the same things. "The girl with the bell found me again. They erased the footage, but I saw myself watching. Myself. There's a door in my basement that wasn't there yesterday." Michael began writing to them. Not online, in places. Paper trails. He left messages on highway signs with invisible ink, buried cassettes beneath fire towers, etched coordinates under loose tiles in public restrooms. They found them because they were watching. Because they had always been watching. And then, one night she answered. Not the girl, the other one, not quite human, not quite voice. A presence he could feel crawling into his bones as he opened the envelope left on his motel pillow. Even though the room was locked from the inside and he hadn't slept in the bed. Inside the envelope, a single Polaroid of him, as a child, sitting next to a machine made of glass and steel with wires plugged into his spine. Behind the boy, his mother, only Michael's mother died when he was 9. He turned the photo over. One sentence written in perfect block letters. This time, don't trust her. The dreams changed after that. Now, it wasn't him strapped to the table, it was the girl. The bell crushed in her hand, blood pooling at her feet, eyes white and unseeing. Around her, others, the watchers, speaking not to him, but through him, and one of them, was smiling through his dead father's face. That's when the third voice entered the story. No name, no face, just messages. Broadcast on a scrambled AM station, only accessible at 3:11 a.m. on a radio with no battery. The voice is quiet, masculine, but warped with static. He never says what he is, only what he knows. He calls himself an observer, a remnant, says he was part of Cycle 3, that he never made it past Phase 6, says that Michael is the last viable iteration before the reboot. Protocol activates. Michael doesn't understand half of it, but the observer explains what no one else will. That identity is a placeholder, that memory is a system of control, that Michael is not a man with a past but a construct designed to sustain belief in a past long since overwritten. He says the girl was never supposed to meet him. She's not the glitch he is. The observer warns him, the next time you see the girl, you won't know it's her. She will look like someone else, someone he trusts. That's how they slip through. That's how they reset the story. Michael begins to unravel. But not in madness. In clarity, he starts recognizing things before they happen, finishes people's sentences before they speak. In one motel mirror, he watches his reflection move. A second too slow, a full breath behind him. He begins writing the date on his arm every morning. It changes before dusk. One night, in a diner outside Minneapolis, he meets a woman named Janice. She looks familiar. Too familiar, but different, warmer. She tells him she's been following the same trail, that she heard about the bell, that she, too, saw the footage that was never released, the one from 20 years ago. From a school fire that never made the news but still shows up in old FEMA documents. If you know where to dig. She shows him a drawing. 3 dots and a triangle dot and I drawn inside it, but she draws it upside down. And suddenly, everything in Michael's body pulls tight. Because that's not how the symbol goes. That's how they use it to invert memory. To rewrite. To trap. He doesn't confront her, doesn't say a word. Just nods, smiles, excuses himself to the restroom. Then runs. He doesn't stop until his lungs tear open. He finds the symbol again carved into a tree 2 miles from the highway. But this time, it's surrounded by dozens of names. His name, again and again. Michael Reyes, Michael Rice, MR Unit, Era 071, all crossed out. Only one name remains beneath it. You. He drops the notebook. Because it's not just about him anymore. It's about you. You've seen the signs too. You've felt the memory. Glitches. The dreams you swear aren't yours. The door in your hallway that you don't remember closing, but now it's locked. The phrase you saw as a kid on a desk, on a textbook, in a dream and forgot until this very moment. She remembers everything. This isn't just Michael's story, it's been watching you all along. And the next time you hear the bell, the one from your childhood, the one you chalked up to a daydream, you'll know you were never crazy. They lied to you, and they're watching now, but not through the screen, through you, ending charged with energy, left open for viewer interpretation and rewatch.